Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday's rendition of Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. And it is great to have people begin joining us this evening. And I'm going to say hello to a bunch of you folks right now. And if more of you want to say howdy, I'd appreciate it. But let's go ahead and start off with saying hello to those who have already said hello in the chat. James Corbett, welcome to the show. Cheryl Garcia. Cheryl and Ben are here tonight. William Campbell, thanks for joining. Cheryl Moulton, thanks for joining. Charlotte Geller, thank you for joining. Anybody else that wants to say hello, say hello. We'll acknowledge you. And as usual, guys, why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you share and like the show so that way we can, if more of our friends want to watch, they can know it's here. And if we share and like it, then people can actually look at it afterwards and decide to join us. Danny Swan, thank you for joining. Mary Boysworth, thanks for joining. Like I said, if you would share and like the show, that way that people can know that we're here, we're out and about, and we're going to talk about things that are going on in good old Rockdale County right now. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about what's going on next week that's very important. Well, between Monday, March the 2nd and Friday, March the 6th, qualifying for public office begins. So if you want to qualify for something local, you're a post 1 Board of Commission seat, one of the 3 judge positions that's open in Rockdale County, one Superior Court judge position, 2, then you would qualify here in good old Rockdale County. If you want to qualify for one of the House seats or the state Senate seat, you would go to Atlanta and qualify up at the Capitol. So that's that's a big thing happening next week. We've already got 3 people we know of that have filled out declarations of intent for the Board of Commission Post 2. And then also you have the incumbent, Doreen Williams. So we have 4 folks right now we know of intending on running, and there was a couple of other people that have said they intend on running, no DOIs, but they can file this week. So it'll be interesting to see. So we will have anywhere from 4 to 6 people running for that Board of Commission Post 2 seat. We have a couple people that filed for Judge Reed's seat, and one of those being a good friend of the show's Justin Kinney filing for that seat. We have Judge McCrae's seat up. We had heard rumors that someone else was going to run for that seat, so we'll know that by next Friday, other than Judge McCrae. Then we have Nancy Beals, currently the incumbent of the Superior Court seat, and we do know that former probate and state court judge Clarence Cuthbert intends to challenge Judge Nancy Beals for that Superior Court seat. So we have quite an interesting election cycle for Rockdale County. I know we have 2 people that have filled DOIs out and have declared candidacy to run against the State Rep Rhonda Taylor. State Rep Angela Moore told me she believes she had a challenger that is challenging her from DeKalb County, and we do not know if anyone is challenging Senate. Well, we do know Donald Ferguson is intending on challenging Tanya Anderson, but we do not know if Doreen Carter has picked up a challenge yet. So we'll see what develops on that front. So it is an interesting cycle we have. We do know that all of our governors, lieutenant governors, and all of those state constitutional officers, we have a seeking both Republican and Democrat nominations for those. So those will be interesting races coming up this coming year. So we have a lot of things going on in the state of Georgia and Rockdale County. So Cheryl Matthew Parman, who would that be? I'm not familiar with that name. If you give me a little bit of background on what you've heard about that name, that'll help me and the people out here know what who you're referring to and what you're referring to them regarding. So that goes. And then Cheryl did say it was a gorgeous day on the porch today, and it was a really nice day out there today. I enjoyed the weather myself. I yawned. Oh, just a watcher. I got you. Just a watcher. Got you. So yeah, guys. I mean, it is very, very interesting with what's going on out here in the community and everything that's happening with. Oh, you're tagging someone. That's good. Tag them. Get them in here. Let them watch the show. And then also tomorrow, we should also see. We have heard that most likely Justin Kenny's replacement will be announced sometime tomorrow by Judge Beals' office. So that's what we had heard. The original timeline was for applications to be filled out by the following Friday, which was the 20th. Interviews being done this week, and I did hear of a couple of people who had interviews. And then the beginning of the following week, which would be March the 2nd, that the replacement person would be named. So we are all waiting in anticipation to hear of the name of the individual who will be replacing Mr. Kenny. Had our board meeting this past Thursday, and yes, Mr. Kenny is one of those individuals running for District 92. There's a young lady named Miss Brown, also Stacy, that's running for that District 92 seat also. So that should be interesting. We have two challengers for that representative District 92, and I think Mr. Kenny. Des Moines ran a few years ago, but there was some controversy about the district because I think he ran when it had got redistricted from where he used to live, and there was a little confusion with that. So, but I think he's got everything lined out this year, and the district straightened up. And I think that Des Moines Kenny and a young lady named Ms. Brown are both challenging current incumbent Representative Taylor for that seat. And George Kilizek is turning in his 25 signature qualification sheet to be placed on the ballot for a supervisor position on the Rockdale Water Conservation District. George, how many of those positions are up this time? If you would let me know, is that 3 or is that 4 that we will be voting for this time for that supervisor? Is that 3 or 4 positions that are up this cycle for that position of the Rockdale Soil Water Conservation District? I can't quite remember that number right offhand. So just if you'd let us and the good folks know how many of those positions are up, and you guys do have to turn in a qualifying sheet with X number of signatures to be able to qualify for the ballot for that. So that'll be interesting to know what is going on. And then Charlotte said she saw a Cuthbert sign in a window in Old Town yesterday. So that is how we see it. And then I know that there's supposed to be a challenger, Jesus Lopez, who comes on the show sometimes, is supposed to be qualifying this week, challenging board chair Sandra Jackson Lett, is what he has been saying on social media. So we will see how all that pans out. We'll see who qualifies this week, and by Friday we'll actually know a list of candidates who have officially qualified and whose names will be appearing on the May 21st ballot. So I look forward to all of that, and look forward to seeing what's going on. And I did talk to a good friend of the show, Alex McDonald, today, and he and I are going to do another show here in the near future about data centers. And what we're going to discuss, because everybody has talked about the impact that data centers will have on utility bills like water and electricity and the strain that it puts on the infrastructure. I'll talk to him about uh, uh, the different environmental impacts that data centers can have. You know, but Alex and I are going to talk about another thing, or virtually a financial gamble, because they are very upfront, heavy, debt driven with the if we build it, they will come mentality. So we're going to talk about how they are much riskier financially than than they let on, and we're going to talk to you guys about all the debt that one of these data centers incurs up front on the forecast of possibly making a profit at some point. So we are going to talk about that. And Gloria, no, we have not heard anything about Buc-ee's yet, and that's to investigate in March and see what goes on with. George says we have 3 elected water and soil supervisor positions that are up for election, and then 2 appointed. So we will have 3 people on the ballot, and we'll see what goes on. And then Cheryl Moulton said the next VOC agenda 4 data centers and a battery. Chief was at the Kiwanis meeting a few weeks ago, and he was just like, not really a big storage facility. So we'll see what happens with that. So it wasn't up to him to keep them in or out of here, but he would prefer them not being here. So we'll see what goes on with that. And I do understand these battery storage facilities can be a little bit iffy and a little bit dangerous. And like I said, the data centers, the Amazon data center is, that they're getting in Covington, maybe not so iffy because, that's backed by Amazon and it's an Amazon data center. But you've got these like DC Blocks, they're going to build it and hope to lease that data space to other people. So that'll be interesting for that to all play out and see, because but Alex wants to bring you some numbers and talk about it, and just talk about how much upfront debt that a investor like DC Blocks has to take on, how much money has to be borrowed if you build it, they will come mentality, if that actually works out. We got a lot of storage units, a lot of large warehouse space that was here and in not really panning out. So Charlotte says it's just 2, but when you have these other add-ons, it makes it look like 4, but it's just 2. But but that is interesting. We will see how that all flows. But and then Cheryl hears something this week about it. And then Cheryl said, with all the data centers wanting to come in here, George, about you giving an update at some point on the drinking water and the update on the supply versus silting and all that. So we may get George to come on the show here in a few weeks and give us a thing about that. And then Joy Powers replying that she was also wondering about the Buc-ee's, and and like I said, I do believe that in sometime in March, and I heard mid-March that we was hear something. I don't think so, John. John, that's one of the things Alex is going to talk about because he's got a little bit of some data that he put up on this week in Rockdale, and he's going to do a little more research, and that's something we're going to talk about, is all that debt versus, how long it would take to recover that debt, and just the risk. And you got to remember, those things are being backed by a development authority, which means they're going to get bonding to build the facilities, and the authority are going to hold the deeds. So, if these things fail, who ultimately holds the debt if these things fail? I'll answer that question with something. So we all know about BioLab, right? And BioLab, a tax abatement. The county held the deed. I do know that the county is being sued in conjunction with BioLab for the BioLab nonsense. So, to me, I think it's too much of a risk for these development authorities to be given all this abatements to this hoodoo magic financing that they're doing. Like I said, I just want to see what's going on with it. Cheryl, they won't bring a lot of jobs anywhere. They take and they don't give. John Bowers, privatize the profit while socializing the debt, 100%. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about on the show that we're not making them pay taxes and we're financing their venture. And that's just reality. The county, the taxpayers are taking all the risk in this kind of endeavor. And I didn't sign up for that, and I definitely didn't sign up to have a bunch of unelected bureaucrats making those kind of decisions on my behalf. And I'm in my personal headspace. I would like to see all these development authorities suspended until further notice and a relook at this stuff, because I just don't trust them. I don't think they make sound decisions, and I'm just not in a place right now where I think we should give these development authorities any more leeway. Just don't believe so. So, what else would you guys like to chat about this evening? So, I really only had the couple of things that I wanted to talk about and bring to you tonight. Wanted to bring up about the qualifying. Wanted to bring up about Justin announced most likely tomorrow who is going to fill his position on the board. And then I also wanted to mention the data centers and an upcoming show with Alex and I, because I know I'm going to have a lot to talk about next week, because I do want to, after everybody qualifies, we do want to talk about the end, just mention all the people running, so that who's running for what office. I want to get the list. So Dr. Bull said that Georgia Power wrote a check for $50 million. So this is the thing about it. Was it their $50 million, or was it $50 million they borrowed? Is that debt? So, that's something, something I want to know, right? So we're going to talk about a lot of that, guy, right? We're going to talk about where their money comes from, where their investment come from, how much money they actually have at stake, and how much of it is borrowed. Because from what we've been able to dig up, they have very little skin in the game. Very little skin in the game. And the first town hall on data centers is the 12th, when we already have a couple being built. It's a little too late for town halls when we've already approved things, right? That is ridiculous. So if they pre-approved to do this, it's still, we need to ask where the money come from. How did they get the money? Are they using the land and the building, what they're doing as collateral to get the $50 million? Who knows? Gloria English want to know where the parking debt is going in Old Town, and I think that's still up for grabs about where that's going. As I've talked with people who are on the SPLOST committee and different things, I think that's still not an unknown as to where the parking deck's going to go. Um, so, Corliss, that's something I think we want to talk about when we do the finances. That's something we also want to talk about is the abatement agreement. If some of you guys want to mention that in the chat, you can. But that's something we'll also talk about here in a few weeks when we do a show on the data center and the finances. We will also discuss the tax abatements and those impact, how that will impact the taxpayers of Rockdale County also. Representative Dale Washburn is reviewing development authorities across the state. Stay tuned. Yeah, and I knew that was happening at the Capitol because folks at the Capitol are starting to take a look at these authorities and what they're doing across the state, and is it actually healthy for these communities? And that's interesting, right? So you have the legislature starting to become aware of these financial problems, and that's one of the other things, guys. You got to look. There are at least 3 pieces of legislation this year that sunset all these development authorities deals with that they've done. There are pieces of legislation that are this year that if they would pass, that would end abatements for data centers at the end of 26. There's some that ended in 27, but no, that's not going to be something that stays around a long time, because the legislature is getting involved in this now too, and they are going to stop the abatements to data centers, and they're going to retract some of them because they also saw this as very bad, because you've got a business model that doesn't really give anything but takes a whole lot from a community. You don't pay taxes, and you rob utilities, you rob natural resources. So how is that a win-win for the citizens of Rockdale County when it's an environmental issue, it's a financial issue, and it is a raw materials issue? It's a natural resources issue. It is not a win-win for a county or a city. And that's why I didn't have a problem with Angela Moore's legislation to have them pay our property taxes if they were going to exist. And this thing about it, I don't even know if these things would actually end up generating the money they say they're going to pay anything. That's still up in the air too. We don't even know. It is all speculative. So that's why I don't have a problem introducing a piece of legislation that is on some speculative money that may or may not even happen. Thank you. Angela Moore says, sorry, I'm late to the amen to the robbing of data centers. See, so Angela knows her and I have had this conversation. And that's one of the reasons she introduced the bill she introduced, because she said, hey, they're going to rob us. Let's see if we can get something out of them. And I totally agree with the mentality and the concept she brought to that idea. Is let's go ahead and see if they do make any money, let's take some of it. And that's what I believe we should do, right? I believe we should do that. But yeah, guys, I think that we will know some answers to some things here in the next few weeks, especially as things start taking shape under the Gold Dome. John Bowers, I agree. Data centers could be the next evolution of commercial office space, because as they fail, and like I said, and they have a timeline to them. There was an MIT doctorate guy came and did a presentation at one of the organizations I belong to, and said They have a 10-year lifespan. Within 5 years, they will starting to be phased out. Phased out. George Kelichek, Georgia Power announced a $4.3 billion profit from 2025, right? And so is that why so graciously they said they were gonna freeze rates? And I think that's a little trick thing about how they were gonna freeze rates. I don't think they were really gonna freeze rates. They were gonna, like, maybe not charge something extra. There's enough money involved that the county does not want the taxpayers to have. And there's where you go, Angela, 100%. Because I did see a post from one of our elected officials saying that the county already had plans for the money. And those plans for the money did not include giving you, the citizens of Rockdale County, a tax break. Didn't. They did not. They did not. And if they are successful, there is enough money there so that homestead property owners will not have to pay taxes. But they still want you to pay taxes, and they want to get that money. That's just the hard, cold facts. They don't want to give you that property tax relief because they still want your tax dollars, and they want that pilot money and those fees from those data centers, right? So don't buy into the hogwash. John Bowers, we should be sending satellite data centers into orbit. Larger ones could be like a space station. I like that idea, John. I do. But yeah, guys, I mean, it's very interesting of what we got going on. Then pay off the bonds toward the courthouse. I doubt they would do that. Rockdale County's never met a bond they didn't like refinancing. They'll refinance it and say they paid it off. Just ask the water authority. Oh, we can't ask the water authority because they put them in hiatus and got a committee now instead of a water authority, violating Georgia law. Did I just say that out loud? I think I did, right? And I know there's some local legislation about changing who appoints that water authority. And I really do hope our local legislators can agree to sign on to that and make that happen because the Board of Commission, we need to stop all the nonsense. We need to find out if we really do have separate bank accounts for the water authority, for the general fund, for the SPLOST. I've gotten some pushback on the bill. The county says they will give back to the citizens. Well, let me tell you what. I don't believe them, Angela, because if they would really want to give it back to the citizens, they wouldn't have a problem with your legislation. So let's get real. They want our taxes and they want that money because I'm going to tell you guys, they ain't nothing like double dipping, is they? They ain't nothing like double dipping. We're going to get your property taxes and we're going to get those fees from that data center. We're going to do both. That's exactly what they're doing. They are going to collect both. 100%. Collect both. And you don't get relief. That's what they're going to do. That's my thought on it. But you know what, guys? Just think about it, right? This ain't the only election. You got an election coming up in 28. You know, run on the record, and they have to run on things they promised. They didn't come through with. They said they were going to do. They didn't do. You got to run on your record and what you did. And in 2028, every voter in Rockdale County will be able to go to Old Town Conyers and see those two giant buildings that destroyed Old Town Conyers. The simplicity of our small city. We'll get to see that. Corliss, I'm going to put your post up there. Yes, the need to obey the 1990 Act. Denise said in an email it would be easy. She would appoint members. The law is the law. I agree 100%. And then you're right, Corliss, ethics boards. Well, we do need ethics boards. And then, I had spoke with one of the state senators who said he would not have a problem helping us with legislation for ethics boards because they've done it all over the place, and wouldn't help. And actually, that was Senator Emanuel Jones who has actually helped establish ethics boards in Henry and DeKalb counties as the state senator there. So he said he would more than graciously help with ethics board legislation if he would be asked to help with such legislation. He did not have a problem with that. So that's what it is, guys. It's what it is. Yeah, I really think that we need to just think about what we're doing, how we're doing it, what people say they're going to do, and there's nothing wrong with holding people accountable for what you thought that you elected them to do. And if they didn't do what you thought, then don't vote for them again. That's the way that it works. And it's the way, as a voter, I work. That's the way I look at it. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you something. I plan on being on this show for an hour next week because we're going to talk about all the politics. And we will talk about everything next week, right? And Angela, don't let them try to stall. And Glory, we did what we could do with 581 on the local level, especially on the Board of Education. I have said publicly that I would support a senior exemptions from school taxes if the legislature would so introduce that legislation, because they have to. Then that not only did I say that I think we should exempt seniors from school tax, seniors with a means test, and I'm going to clarify that. I think we should do an income-based exemption, but I think it should not be only exempt from school board property tax, but with the exemption and the income means test, they should be exempt from school tax, county tax, and city property tax. I think they should be exempt from all, not just school board tax. I think that seniors who qualify because of a financial means test should not pay any property taxes. Not just exempting them from school taxes, but school board taxes, county taxes, and city taxes. That's what I believe. And Angela is pushing hard for every future homeowner. Is giving rebates for the budget right now. And Angela, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You guys passed a budget last week that included grants for property tax credits and also the rebates for income tax. So I believe Georgia taxpayers should be getting some relief from the state next year in the version in the way of property tax grants being applied against the amount that you owe, and then also getting back money for your income tax. So I think we'll see both of those things. Like 3 years ago, remember when we all got like $500 applied to our tax property bills for us? That similar thing is going to happen this year. That will be financed by the state budget. But I think, like I said before, I believe that we should have a senior exemption that's based on a means test, and it should not only be for school board taxes, but it should be for school board, county, and city taxes. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. So, guys, let me go ahead and say thank you for joining me tonight. I am going to go ahead and exit the talk for now. I will be on here next week. We're going to talk about politics in Rockdale County, everybody that's running for office, and we may have some more news to pass down from anything that happened up at under the Gold Dome next week. So thank you for joining me tonight, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next Sunday, 8 p.m. right here on Speak Your Mind with Larry Cobb.